Hi, thank you for tuning in to the Finding Harmony podcast with me, your host, Harmony Slater. Hey, welcome to the Finding Harmony podcast. I'm your host, Harmony, and I am so happy that you are joining us today. Russell Case is back, and he is with me, and we are joined by Jen René, who is an Ashtanga Yoga teacher. Maybe you've seen her Instagram or know of her programs online. But her mission and her career is dedicated to making Ashtanga Yoga accessible to everyone. And we're going to talk to her a bit about her knee injury. And you might find this very interesting, so be sure to listen to the end where she talks about her ACL surgery and meniscus surgery and the recovery process, and how she's adapted and changed her practice to help her recover most effectively and with a sense of grace and ease, even though recovering from an injury is always difficult and an ongoing process. So I know you're going to love this conversation with Jen. And I also want to tell you about a really special upcoming program. I am curating a unique group, an intimate group. It will be capped at 20 people. And so whether you're a yoga teacher, a coach, a healer, a therapist, or breathwork facilitator, or spiritual seeker with untapped potential, I want to invite you to join me at the beginning of the year. We'll start January 3rd, and it will be for the month of January, 4 weeks, where we're focused on coming together and infusing new life into your personal practice and also the business that you have, because typically you're an entrepreneur building a business. And so this is an opportunity to deepen your spiritual practice, connect to your personal self-care practice and your highest self or the God of your understanding, as well as develop the essential skills that you need to be a leader of impact in the world, whether you're a yoga teacher, a coach, a therapist, or a wellness facilitator, and how to attract the right people and resources to bring your bigger vision to life, and so much more. This is going to be such a beautiful group, a beautiful gathering, and I'm so excited to be offering this more than asana mentorship. We're really going to be diving into creating confidence and self-worth and self-belief and clarity in all that you're doing. And we're going to talk about patriarchy and power, as well as the balance between discipline and surrender. I'm just so excited. This is honestly my favorite offering that I've ever created, and I'm opening up to 20 people. If you want to be one of those 20 people, shoot me a DM at Harmony Slater Official or drop me a line at harmony@harmonyslater.com, a little email. You can find all this information also on my website, harmonyslater.com/more-than-asana. You can just look it up too. In the show notes, we will have the links, and I'm just so excited to invite you into this beautiful container of coaching and mentorship for the month of January to really start your year off in a super powerful way. So without further ado, let's chat with Jen. Hi, welcome to the Finding Harmony podcast. I'm here with Russell Case again today.
Harmony.
Hi, Russell.
Does this mean that I'm no longer on probation?
Yeah, you're out of podcasting jail.
Well, I just want to say I want to apologize. We did a podcast with Naomi Judd. Or no, you're right. It was Winona Judd, her daughter, Naomi. It was right after Naomi killed herself.
What?
And I asked a lot of inappropriate questions, and I just went way off the rails. We had to throw out the entire podcast. Yeah, and it was good stuff.
Junk the whole thing.
We had to junk the whole thing. That's a first.
And then you got put in podcasting jail.
I'm just really want to apologize to our listeners.
Good. Just like how I got put in Facebook jail.
Ooh, that was bad. You gave away like $1,100 to like Afghan refugees.
I don't know, some
was
kind of
terrible.
terrorist organization.
Who are we interviewing today?
So today we have the ever lovely Jen René. Hello, Jen.
I know her.
Hi.
Hi, Jen.
Over on the
Hi, guys.
from the East Coast to the West.
Yes.
Are we the West?
Yep.
No, she used to live on the East Coast, and now she lives on the West Coast.
Oh, that's her. Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah.
That's me, yes.
Nice. Nice. Where did you live in the East Coast?
I was in Washington, D.C.
Oh, D.C. Yeah, that is swampy.
Yeah.
And I thought it was like a metaphor, but they mean it.
No, they do mean it. It is really
Wow.
there. The real thing.
I was very surprised how wet and mosquito-y, like not kidding around. Did you grow up there? Your parents are Afghan refugees?
No.
No, I actually moved to DC for grad school, and it was just one of those things. Like, I moved there, and it took me a really long time to leave. And I never had thought I would stay as long as I did. But
Georgetown poli-sci.
just kind of got roped in. No, I went to GW for international affairs,
Same thing.
which almost the same thing. You were okay, so you were close. And then, and that's just really helped me a lot as a yoga teacher. It was really a good investment.
Try having a graduate degree in painting to help you.
Right,
Hard.
right.
Wow.
Yoga is kind of an international affair, so.
True, right, when you look at it like that.
Well, what made you move then? Well, how did you,
how'd you get to, but where did you move there from?
Okay, let's start at the beginning.
I like to start at the beginning. I like to do a linear path.
Well, I grew up in New Hampshire, and then I had moved around a little bit. I went to school in Philadelphia and undergrad, and then lived in San Francisco for a little while. And that's kind of when I really started doing yoga, was in San Francisco.
Oh, cool.
I had done a little bit of it prior, but really kind of, look at that cute
Dog
little
licking my face.
dog licking your face.
Who were you studying with in SF?
That was back before I had a Mysore practice. I was doing rocket yoga with Larry Schultz.
With Larry himself? That's
yeah,
awesome.
It was back when he was, it was back. It was actually a really cool time to be doing it because they had like a giant warehouse and they were really big
to
classes.
Store all the
and
dope.
Larry was cool.
Yeah.
He had a lot of good stories, and he was a character for sure.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
That is back in the day. That's an original OG.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. And then that kind of got me interested in Ashtanga.
So it
from
was
there.
kind of a natural progression then to come back to the West Coast.
Yeah, so it took me a long time to leave DC because I loved it.
Were you doing
but,
Ashtanga in DC?
Yeah, I was doing Ashtanga, and I had a really big Mysore program there.
There was a guy I met who was like a runner who was running a program. There was a French guy who had a program. Who were you with there?
She had her own program.
Well, yeah, I had my own program.
You ran your own program in DC. You weren't studying with anyone else in DC.
No, because I had, I had originally started practicing Mysore with somebody else in DC. And then I started my own program sometime after that.
Okay, wow.
And was that after you finished grad school?
It was after grad school.
Amazing. But you two met in Mysore.
Yeah.
So what?
We met in Mysore.
But that was when you were in DC also running your Mysore program.
Yeah, that was after grad school, but before I had a Mysore program.
So you took the age-old advice: before starting a Mysore program, go to Mysore.
Right.
Go to Mysore. Yes, and that's when I met Russell. So I was fairly new to the traditional Ashtanga at the time. Like I'd been practicing Mysore style less than a year when I went to Mysore. And I remember Russell because I had never seen anybody kick into lotus, but like seated on his butt. He kicked into lotus so fast.
Whip it, that whippy
It
thing?
just whipped. Yes. And I didn't even know that was possible. Had never occurred to me that you could sit on your butt and kick your legs into lotus. But that's kind of the beauty of going to someplace like Mysore, because it just opens up your mind to all these things that are possible that you just have. I never saw that where I was practicing. Like it never occurred to me that was possible.
Well, I had seen it. I'd seen Krishnamacharya do it in that old timey video.
Right.
And I had kind of learned that, like,
David Williams used to do it all the time.
I had never seen him do that, but I knew that Krishnamacharya did, and I knew it was possible, and I was learning at that time that that's where my strengths were. Like Robbie Cavallero told me this once. Like, some people are backbenders, like Robbie. Some people are forward benders, like maybe, I don't know. And then some people are hip swivelers. And I was a hip swiveler, which is a more rare talent to have. I'm a hip swiveler. Not a lot of people appreciate it. And I was like, oh, I can kind of figure. I had seen, what's his name from Australia, like Michael Phelps. No,
Matthew
Sweeney. I'd seen Matthew Sweeney. He's a phenomenal human being. He was in Downward Dog, and he jumped into Kukutasana from Downward Dog. And you kind of have to whip your legs into lotus to land in Urdhva Kukutasana, which is special. So I thought, well, I'm just going to do it the easy way from my sitting on my butt. And then I'll work my way up to jumping into it
from Downward
Dog.
Did you ever get there?
I can do it in handstand, but I couldn't. Like,
that's hard. You got to really slow down that jump forward.
And then I couldn't do it from Downward Dog by the time my practice collapsed.
There's so many places I want to go with this conversation because it reminds me of meniscus tears, which we'll get into.
I never tore my meniscus. I'm a hip swiveler.
I know, but Jen did.
I'm so open. And then you learn things about yourself. Like, you start examining your parents. Did you ever do this, guys? Did you ever look at your parents and try to figure out where your advantages came from? And I realized it's my mom. My mom is a hip swiveler.
Yeah, she is quite open.
No one ever told me growing up that my mom had a big open groin.
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm sure you never heard that.
Actually, well, I had heard it on occasion, but from different men in my life.
So what did you think of Mysore? That was like back in the olden days, old-timey days. Did you love it, or did you find it weird?
I did. I loved it. Like I mentioned, I hadn't been doing Ashtanga very long, so I was super intimidating. I just felt like an outsider or like a newbie.
Especially these guys whipping their legs into
lotus. Right, like people are just blowing my mind with everything that they can do, but I loved it. And I ended up staying for like 6 or 7 months. It was before there were all the rules and you had to stay a long time. And I just learned so much, and it was so impactful in my development as a yoga practitioner. I mean, I just learned a ton, and I really did love it. And then I never went back to Mysore. I just, I wanted to, and I thought I would, and I had just a lot of pressure from my parents who were like, you have this expensive degree, can you get a job? And so there was that, but then I met Tim Miller, and I just really resonated with him and his teachings, and I started, devoting my time to studying with him.
You moved to Encinitas.
But, I mean, and eventually it led me to Encinitas to move there to practice.
But at first you were like just going back and forth, or having him come to your school or things like that?
Yeah. At first I was just going back and forth and, practicing with him for a few weeks here and there when I could. And he came out to DC a few times. And then finally I was able to move out here.
You took like an ambassadorship for California?
But were you actually working in like the political scene as well as running a Mysore program? No. Okay. That was just something your parents dreamed of?
It's just something that I just kind of made the mistake of going to grad school for the wrong thing. I mean, I was young and I didn't have I had found yoga and I loved it, but I just didn't see myself. I just didn't know at the time that it would ever be possible to have a career teaching yoga, like a meaningful career where I just wasn't running around and, teaching tons of classes. And, I just didn't think at the time that it would ever be sustainable. And so I thought I would go back to grad school instead, even though I already really loved the practice at that time. But I just didn't have that vision or belief.
Was there a graduate program that that would have been more suitable for you?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe something more like physical therapy, or I don't know. Maybe I should have just not gone back to grad school.
Philosophy and religious studies. I can tell you all about it.
It's interesting that she didn't say that. I was expecting her to say that, but that she said the other one. That's interesting. That kind of like, oh, that's a side of you. Like that's the direction you would have gone. Do you find that you're a bit more what's the right word?
Like into yoga therapy?
Structural in your approach?
My approach to
teaching,
yoga,
that you're a bit more on that side of understanding how the parts fit together than how the mind embodies the parts.
That's a good question. I've never quite thought of it that way. I mean, I try to really teach to whatever I have, whoever I have in front of me, whatever I really have in front of me, and kind of draw on everything that I've learned through my own practice, or what I've learned from teachers, or what I've learned from other students. So I think that I don't know that I ever have a real structure or expectation of anything before I kind of start getting into
Taoist. But is that true though? Do you find that what you seek out is like a flow state? Do you find yourself drawn to that? Where you appreciate each moment with a new beginner's mind?
Okay, that's a good point too, because when I'm in my flow state, sure, I can appreciate every moment in that beginner's mind, but it's kind of hard for me to get there. It's just not something. It's just not some place that I always drop into. There's a lot of other pulls or distractions or worries or whatever.
Okay.
So is that what drew you to the yoga practice then? Was it like it helped you to connect to that state more, or what was it? What was it that kind of brought you in?
So it's kind of funny because I just got it in my head that I wanted to do yoga, and I don't really know where that came from. Like it wasn't, cause this was probably in like 2003-ish. It was, I had just moved to a new place for a job, and I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any friends there. And I just like, okay, well, I'm going to start doing yoga. And, I found a studio in the Yellow Pages and went, and it's just, it was so impactful, and I don't know what pulled me in. I just knew that I wanted to try it. And then once I started doing it, I did find that, I really resonated with the practice, and I felt like it brought my mind to a different place that I couldn't get to otherwise.
Do you have any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, I have a bunch of them.
How many?
I've got two sisters and a brother.
Are you the top or the bottom or the middle?
I'm the oldest.
Wow, you're in charge of shit. Okay. And of your brothers and sisters, do you find that you're more like one of your parents than they are? Can you put each of you into camps?
Well, I do find myself becoming more and more like my parents all the time, which is
scary.
A little alarming. It's just like, oh man, I sound like my mom. But I don't know. My parents, it's kind of hard to say because I left home when I was 18, so I'm still like I see them frequently, and I talk to them all the time, but I think that I have two siblings that stayed close to my parents, and I have a sister who's actually out here in California also. And so I feel like the two that are kind of near my parents geographically and see them more often, they kind of fall more into like the
They're more
parent
like them.
camp where I think they're more like them.
Because I'm just trying to get to the the foundation here of like how you became you, and if there was a particular parent that you were kind of in the same pattern as that person, or maybe there's like an auntie who
Maybe
went out
she's
there and like was doing yoga and freaking people out.
She's just uniquely herself on her own path.
I don't believe in that.
Well, other people do.
I don't know. Like I never, my parents certainly never influenced me to do yoga. They were actually, I think, a little concerned when I started getting really into it. Like, what
Yeah.
Did they think you were in a
is she?
cult?
Yeah, like the word cult definitely came
You
up.
were
I mean, I'm sure that's pretty common. It wasn't something that they completely encouraged either, but I think it's just more of something that they came to
But let's
accept.
take the word yoga out of it. Like just the like maybe your dad's a golfer, and just like that urge to enter a flow and get away from executive function and find a way to get away from it so that you can kind of relax. Is there an urge there, someone who's got that kind of dynamic going on?
Well, the only thing I would say is that my parents are pretty religious. Like they're Catholics who my dad has like a little pocket of medals of like saints that
amazing.
he used to keep it in his
Here we
pocket.
go.
And I think that they really turn to
Yeah.
prayer a lot. And, I have this other method of
Yeah.
Right.
praying. So maybe that's a bit of a
An
similarity.
entirely different pantheon of
Right. Like they do really like golf, but I don't think golf takes them into flow state. Like I've seen a lot of frustration come from their
That's
golf.
interesting that they have a religious
bent.
yeah, like that's a part of something that you grew up with and was in your atmosphere, and then I mean yoga is itself like a religious practice in some sense, and that it's
It can be done that way.
yeah, tapping into that embodiment and mindfulness and breath, which is spirit, all of those things. So
Keeping your mind on Guruji at all times.
yeah. But I mean, there must have been, this is kind of interesting, there must have been a break for you where you were like, yeah, I don't really
Catholicism is
want
not
to,
for me.
yeah, I don't want to follow this path. And then, was that like a conscious choice or no? Did it just evolve?
Well, no, I don't think it was conscious. Because I even went to Catholic college. Like I went to Catholic school, and it wasn't. Catholic high school or elementary school, I didn't have a choice. Like that was just what my parents wanted us to do, and so that's just what I did. And then the Catholic college is kind of weird because it wasn't like my plan to go to a Catholic college. I just really liked it.
Which one?
Villanova.
Jimmy.
Yeah.
Jimmy V. Yeah.
Yes.
Jimmy V.
And I don't know, like, and then after college, like, I don't know if I ever really even went to church again.
Interesting.
I kind of, but to me, yoga has always kind of been my way to see God since I started practicing. And for me, it is that. It makes me feel closer to the divine, or, maybe I don't see it as like the God that I grew up visualizing, but that kind of source energy.
That source energy. Yeah, that's so interesting. That's a really neat connection, because I think it's a familiar feeling maybe that when you start practicing yoga, if you have a religious sort of upbringing, that I don't know, you can kind of relate to that inner feeling or that sense of spaciousness or peace or calm, something that
the spaciousness for sure, and the calmness that kind of comes from it.
Yeah, like
and even just the the quiet, the introspection, and maybe even a bit of the ritual.
Yeah, the ritual too, especially coming like from a Catholic background. There's a lot of
Yeah.
ritual there, and I think it doesn't surprise me that you resonated with the Ashtanga practice, because there's like so much ritual involved with it too, right?
Tons.
So it really
Yeah.
like kind of follows a similar vein, although a very different color. Yeah.
Right.
That's so interesting. What do you call that when you change religions?
Convert?
I converted
How many times?
which is the one time from Judaism, which I didn't know that I was, to Presbyterianism. And what was really attracted me to Presbyterianism was just sitting and listening to Pastor David Bianchian, which I'll never forget him. Listen to him teach us ways of being that would improve our lives through a moral or anecdote from the Bible. And like I would listen to, you learn about, whatever saint or whatever experience like like normal human sufferings and what they did about it. And it's like just learning through story was a phenomenal way of getting to the root of a religious experience. And that seemed to be the religious experience within that church. I mean, I guess that people did some singing and stuff, but I was never very good at that. But I really liked listening to those stories.
Were you at all like not freaked out, but like were you the first time you went to India, because you'd been in, growing up in America, like raised in this sort of Catholic environment, was it like new and interesting, and did you resonate with it right away, or were you a little bit like, what is going on here? Like, this is a whole other planet.
It's colorful like the Catholics, right?
I think it was kind of like, what is going on here? I mean, it's a wild experience the first time. I mean, the noises, the sounds, the organized chaos. I mean, the colors, all of it. It's
the smells.
And the smells. I mean, I had been to developing countries before, but nothing like India. I mean, India is just a different.
It's a world of its own.
A different experience.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Yeah. That's amazing.
I had circumnavigated the globe, and I thought I was a pretty seasoned traveler, until I got to India.
And then you're like, oh,
it's like, what is this?
Yeah, you've been to a lot of countries before, even.
Yeah, I mean, I literally, like, by train circumnavigated the globe, and like that's almost all the countries
except India.
I've been to China, Beijing, and Korea, and
Russia,
Moscow, and France, Poland, and like it was like I'd been Canada even, and I'm like, man, that was so different.
It's so different, because I had been to like places like China that are also really different, but then compared to India, it's still
no.
And India blew my mind.
Yeah. So then did that like how did that ignite a passion? Because then you went right into creating your own yoga school, right?
No, I actually after that I kept teaching
like some classes.
I had actually quite a few classes, probably still teaching like 5 or I don't know, 6, 7, 8 classes a week. But I did work for a little while in like a desk job. I was working at the U.S. Coast Guard, actually. Like as a contract employee, I was never in the Coast Guard, but and it wasn't a great fit. And then I guess it was just really hard for me to kind of take that plunge, like for the reasons I mentioned before. Like I just was scared I would never be able to have a career, or pressure from family, or even just like this idea of what I should be doing that I had for a long time. And then the studio that I had been teaching at for some time, the owner there just was like, I want to start a Mysore program. And I was like, okay, like, but I really like to practice in the morning, so I don't know if I can help you with that. And she kind of just like mentioned it several times. And then finally she's just like, I'm going to get somebody else to do it if you don't want to do it. And I was like, okay, well, I don't want anybody else to do it, so I guess I will, I'll do it. And it really just blossomed into this amazing thing where it really let me develop as a teacher, and it really just gave me this amazing opportunity that I'm not sure I ever would have had otherwise to share things with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it was great. Like it grew to be a really big program that I just ended up operating out of that studio. We kind of had a agreement where I just rented the space from them, which was a really huge blessing also because it did allow me to support myself in a way that I never would have been able to if I was just getting paid per class. And then, it grew and it was great and met amazing people. And then when I moved out here, we actually kept it going. And I would go back and teach periodically. And there were a bunch of people who had been my assistants prior who were teaching it. And it kept going until COVID. And then, we have to let it go at that point between the distance and everything shutting down.
You have a program now in Encinitas, is that right?
No, sadly, yoga has really kind of, or at least Ashtanga has just kind of slowed down here, which is a sad thing because Encinitas has always kind of been the epicenter of Ashtanga in the States anyways. And I did teach at Tim's studio for a while after I moved out.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think they actually still have a few online offerings, but Tim isn't teaching now. And it's just kind of dwindled here. So I'm hoping that, sometime in the near future, I'll be teaching more in person and have another Mysore program, but I think it might not be here.
But you're teaching online, right?
I'm teaching online. Yeah, I'm teaching online and, I do some events and workshops and, but I'm definitely teaching a lot less, which is so funny because there was a time when I really wanted to teach less. And I was like, I'm teaching too much. And I started creating online programs before COVID, well before COVID, because when you're teaching a lot of Mysore, it's so physically tiring. And so I really wanted to not have to teach as much as I was. And now I really want to teach more in person. And I miss it. So it's just, things change.
When you were in Encinitas, were you around for that whole Joyce Yoga experience?
Joyce Yoga probably is did you guys ever go to Shrut's tours there? Or
sure, yeah. I'm just I'm wondering because when Joyce Yoga opened up there, I remember there being a big hoopla, especially within Tim's studio, and then Tim they made an offer to Tim to teach there, and there was a lot of hot feelings. I just didn't know if that was you were there in that time period.
I was still in DC then. I mean, Tim had talked to me about that, and I had heard about it, and I think everything kind of worked out in the end with no hard feelings. But
Andrew needed his own place.
And Andrew's still teaching it under the name of Joyce here, so still around.
Yeah, there's still remnants of it.
Still a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just mining for emotional minefields. That's all. I'm just looking, got my metal detector out, looking around.
Yeah, touching that one. That's loaded.
So, one of the things that we talked about before that would be interesting to talk about, I think, is you have a lot of experience of recovering from injury and. You have a very advanced practice, but then you had a meniscus injury and have had to take time to recover from that. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about your process because that seems to be something
tell us what happened.
Yeah. What happened, how you recovered, what's going on.
Yeah, give us the juice of the story.
So I tore my ACL completely and my meniscus back in March of 22. And so it's it's funny because I actually thought I'd had some pretty bad injuries before this too. I had a stress fracture and L2. I had had some pretty bad injuries and nothing else compares to this even remotely. So the injury happened skiing. Which just
does the ACL.
Oh, I know it's so maddening.
My mind is I wonder if she was skiing.
It was skiing, and I hadn't skied for years, and I was just enjoying myself and getting back into it. And I had been it wasn't my first time out. I had probably been like 5 or 6 times. And then I fell, and it's just, it was pretty bad. I had to, get in the toboggan, taken down off the mountain. And I knew that I had really screwed something up, although I was really hoping that it wasn't as bad as it turned out to be. Because it has been a long process recovering from it. So, and the whole thing just takes a long time anyways. Like, it takes a long time to get an MRI scheduled, and nobody wants to operate until the swelling goes down. So the whole process, just even to get to the point of surgery, is pretty drawn out. So it took me 5 months to have the surgery. But part of that was because I had really wanted to do Richard and Mary's month-long intensive that summer. And so it's like, well, I'll just push it off another month.
Did you hear the story about how that happened to Mary?
Yes, actually, Mary and I talked about that a lot, because she did her skiing also, and she, we talked before the surgery and after the surgery, and she definitely helped me and gave me a lot of really good pointers.
So it was good you went.
It was good. It was good that I went. And so I did the surgery in August of 2022, and I got a cadaver ACL ligament put in, and they stitched my meniscus. And the stitching of the meniscus is pretty unusual. Sometimes they can do it, but then even when they can do it with somebody my age, sometimes they just don't do it. It's something that they like to do with younger people more so.
Are we not younger people?
No.
I know. That's actually what they told me.
That's so funny.
But at the same time, I'm old enough to get the cadaver ligament, because they don't give cadavers to young people either, because the body rejects them.
We don't reject dead people? Oh, man.
You get to be a certain age, and your body's just like, yes, I'll take the young ACL.
I'll take anything.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Yeah.
So fascinating. Wow.
It's bizarre. Yeah, it's super bizarre. So immediately after the surgery, like, I couldn't really do any type of practice. And then by the time I had the surgery, like, I wasn't practicing anything with a bent knee, but I was kind of doing a mix of like poses from second and third, and maybe even like a little of the back bends from fourth, just kind of piecing a lot of things together, just avoiding things with a
lotus
that required.
Or something like that.
Sorry, I'm still stuck on
this.
Like,
even like something like Janu A.
I'm trying to imagine Winona Ryder like accepting Gorgon ligament in Stranger Things, because she's old enough to do that. And I'm just like, the kids can't accept that stuff. Oh my God. So I'm sorry. You can do you couldn't do John A, of course not, because you've got a major knee issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Or Bakasana? No, nothing.
No.
Don't do Bakasana.
Intensely
Don't
flat.
do that.
No. So basically, right, you can definitely do Bakasana. So, but leading into the surgery, like, I was doing...
You were doing it all.
A lot. And then, after the surgery, it was 7 weeks on crutches. And there was just so much atrophy in my body. And also, I don't think I ever appreciated how much yoga asana regulates my mood, because I was really, really sad. And it wasn't just that I wasn't doing asana. I also wasn't, going for walks or doing much of anything. And so people who have had ACL surgery that I talked to warned me, they're like, you're going to get really depressed. And I was like, I'm not going to get depressed. I've never been depressed. I'm not going to get depressed. But it actually was quite depressing. Just not being able to move.
It's hard when you're on crutches and just getting around, and
it's just hard. But like I did like, I would still do my seated practice and do chanting or whatever I could. And I actually did a little bit of, Pilates just so I could try to keep a little bit of core strength. I mean, I couldn't really do a whole lot of that either, but that was always easier than yoga because you can do so much of it when you're lying down.
Yeah, and straight legs too, right?
Straight legs, lying down, like I could do that. And then, probably like 2 months after the surgery, I started getting back into asana practice, and really slowly at first. But it was just a little bit worse than I expected, because after the initial injury, things had kind of improved so quickly, I guess. But my leg was very unstable, and I needed the surgery. But after the surgery, there's just so much sensation where the incisions were, and like I couldn't do things that I had been able to do previously, like ustrasana. Like I just couldn't. I couldn't kneel.
Because it opened up the wound.
It just opened up the wound, and then it just like felt kind of like pins and needles, or even like bakasana. Like I couldn't do bakasana for probably like pretty close to a year after the surgery, even though I had been able to do it after the injury. But it was just the sensation in the knee had changed a lot. So it just ended up being, and I had expected it to be a long recovery. I mean, I wasn't thinking that it was going to be something that you'd bounce right back from. But I ended up getting hip tendonitis because of, I don't know, crutches, or who knows why I got the hip tendonitis. Actually, I think it had to do with the exercise I was doing also. And then like a lot of pain in my ankles. And it was just kind of one thing after another for a long time. And so it was like maybe 1 or 2 weeks ago that I finally got back into a lotus, going really slowly.
You whipped it in. No.
No.
I don't know if something like that's ever going to be possible again. Like I don't know. I mean, we'll see how much mobility I get back. I think I'll get more back. I think it'll continue to improve, but I don't know if it'll ever get back to 100%. And I think that's kind of the thing when you're coming back from a big injury. And I've seen lots of students come back from injuries that have involved surgery. I mean, people make remarkable recoveries, and it's so incredible how much muscle memory plays in. I mean, it's remarkable what the body remembers. But I think that like with these bigger injuries, you are measuring your recovery in terms of years. Like it's not months, it's years. So you got to be really patient.
What were you good at in asana? What was your strength? What direction? Were you strong?
Like a back bender, a forward bender, or a hip swiveler?
Were you a strength cut person?
I've never been a hip swiveler. That was always, so anything with the hips always took a lot more work for me. I mean, I was always able to eventually get it. It just wasn't something that I could do right away. That always took more work. So I would say probably more like back bending and like arm balances always came pretty easily.
You kind of struck me as a strength person, yeah. Stability
so like
there. Because it's a feeling like that. Whatever your advantage is really an aspect of your personality. It's your personality manifests, and so like a droopy, limp person that just sits there is going to be a backbender, And so someone who has quite a firm control over their lives, they're going to be able to, and they're also courageous. They're going to be someone that can do, balancing.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're right, because I think that stability does come into the personality type with the arm balances.
Yeah, it's interesting. My good friend Maya Hess, who you might know, who's like the ultimate backbender.
The most relaxed person on the planet.
She always, she said when she was doing learning third series, she felt like she was like ready to fight someone all the time. And it was like a feeling that she wasn't used to, right? Because it's like so much like building that strength, and you're
Yeah.
like in a shell almost in your back muscles and your arm muscles, like a fighting position.
And then she would go home and lie down
Right.
for 8 hours after practice.
grow her
Get
muscles.
up, have a coconut water, and then go back to sleep.
Yeah, but it is interesting, and her personality actually became, as she told me, like more firm, where she would be able to bend over backwards for, everyone. But then when she started doing all those strength arm balances, she started to like kind of stand up for herself a bit more, and
Yeah, isn't it wild how that is?
It's interesting.
It is interesting because I feel like that's. I mean, I guess I feel like looking back at my practice over many years, I feel like each series has kind of brought something out of my personality, and I also feel like just maybe it's coincidentally or oddly, I don't know, but like anytime I've started a new series, it just always seems to kind of coincide with this new chapter in my life also, which has been kind of interesting.
Yeah, interesting. That is cool to reflect upon. What happens when you start giving those series back? What does that mean?
It means that you just start walking your dogs more, and you cook, you go back to painting.
It's like
then
another chapter.
That's the chapter that I'm in, yes.
Yeah, you're like, I'm gonna
The
get
dog
rid of
walking
those.
chapter.
Yeah, I do some push-ups now and then. Yeah, I've given back a number of series now.
Yeah.
But you got what you needed from them.
I did. Well, that's a
Maybe.
good question, but I'm not being interviewed, but like I would love to talk about myself. But like we can. What do you think this is? I wanted to ask you about this because this is I think a problem that we as Westerners have with someone like Patabi Joyce is that you get something like a torn ACL, and Patabi Joyce might just say that you were supposed to have it, you needed to have it, you needed to learn from it, and this is your samskara, and it's that's the important thing, is to suffer it and to study it. And do you agree with that one? And do you feel like you deserved it? And what did you learn from it?
It was exactly the lesson you needed.
Was it? That seems... Man, thank you, God.
Well, it's interesting that you asked that, actually, because I have thought of that a bit. Like, I don't think that... I really regret tearing my ACL. I really want to emphasize that.
Yeah.
I really, really regret it. Like, I wish I hadn't taken that run. Skiing, like I was skiing in the trees. What was I thinking? I wasn't like the 25-year-old skier that I used to be. Like, why did I have to do that to myself?
Yeah.
But so I really, really regret it. But I do wonder if so much asana over the years, because like I used to love doing tons of other things, and then I started doing less and less of it because yoga took up more time, and I also just loved yoga so much that I wanted to be good at it, and so I stopped doing some other things that might have interfered with that. And I think that I let my body get really out of balance. I think my legs got super, super weak. I don't think that having a weak leg, I probably would have torn the ACL anyways. I mean, I think there was enough impact. But I just, there was so much emphasis on being really flexible. And I think Ashtanga, doesn't do a ton for strengthening the legs. I mean, the arm balances do a lot for the upper body and the chaturangas and whatever. And then I used to skip standing poses all the time. It's like I couldn't even work on my legs for like a few poses. So I think I just really let my my legs get weak and really out of balance. So if anything's come out of it is that I've put more emphasis on building strength, and it's come at a cost. I mean, my hips have gotten really tight, but they were always kind of my weak
younger
point
people
anyways.
always made fun of us back in the day, in the 90s. They would make fun of us and say, "Oh, you Ashtangis and your weak legs, and your spindly legs."
They hold standing postures for like 5 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would be the type of thing. Like I would because I used to have a friend who's a younger teacher, and we would practice together. And when we practiced together, we would always do what
Yeah.
she was working on, because I was always kind of working on the same types of things. And I mean, like my legs would be killing. And even like Richard Freeman always has us whole standing poses for ages. Like he'll be telling stories while you're in the standing pose. And meanwhile, like my legs are twitching.
Yeah.
Not a big fan of that kind of stuff.
I gotta come out of this.
But that's an interesting observation, like how I think it's something that happens a lot to, very dedicated, driven, myopic yoga practitioners, is especially Ashtanga yoga students, because we get so into that one type of practice, into the sequence, into the series, and we're only doing that thing, and it takes up so much time. So that's like 2 hours out of your day, basically, where you're just doing this one thing over and over and over again.
2 hours contribute to your day.
No, but then if you're trying to hold another job or have a family, or,
Oh yeah, don't do
are you
those
gonna
things.
go weight train or run or do like some other complementary, go climb? I mean, if you're single, great, you can maybe spend your time however you want, but if you have other things that you have to take care of in life, 2 hours is quite a commitment already, right?
But
It's
if
a
you
lot.
have no other things,
It's
2
a-
hours is not nearly enough. That's my experience.
But it is a big commitment, and it's hard to, even if you have the time, even just to have the
Right.
energy to do other physical activity after a vigorous Ashtanga practice.
Right, you're like, I'm going to do 2 hours of asana and then I'm going to go swim for an hour?
No. You're going to do
Right.
your practice again in the evening.
Right.
That's what you do when you don't have anything else. It's like
Yeah.
that's how all those guys were really good. That's how, like, they were doing 4 to 5 hours a day.
They're pretty strong, though. those
Mark Yao
guys. They
doing
did a lot of
primary series
handstands.
before he would come in to do his whole practice.
Yeah, but again, that's a kind of lifestyle where you have nothing else to do
Yeah.
except work out all day long
Right.
and rest. Work out and rest.
Right.
I mean, at that point, you're basically a professional athlete.
Yes.
And that's not a realistic expectation or reality for like 99.9% of the population that's going to practice yoga.
But for the professional athletes, that's the requirement.
Right.
That's the job.
I mean, but they don't get paid, so you also have to be independently
We got
wealthy.
paid a little bit,
Very little bit.
but not paid. We got paid some to be professional athletes. We made sometimes like 30 grand.
Yeah, that was a high salary.
It was a great year. That was a great
That
year.
was like
A good year.
Yeah.
rolling in the money.
Oh man, when you spend nothing
Right.
on yourself except food, that's a great year. Yeah, you take all of that money and then you go live in Mysore for 9 months. That's what you do. That's the job.
That's the job.
It's not a job. It's
Well, you're
not
paid.
realistic.
It's
It's not realistic if you want to live a full,
Wait.
well-rounded, and
Are
balanced
you
life.
saying it was a fantasy land?
Yes. No, I'm just saying it's not a well-rounded lifestyle. It doesn't encourage people to be healthy and balanced and
Well-
well-rounded if that's like your entire focus, just those three things: asana, saving as much money as you can, and getting back to Mysore.
Well, maybe a well-rounded community needs like 1 or 2 people to do that.
No, and then those people are put up on a pedestal
And then get
as
paid.
like the icon.
And get paid.
Right.
And every
And no one can do it. I mean, most people can't do it.
Most people, no.
Yeah.
99% of people cannot do this.
I think it's really important. I mean, it's sad to get injured, but it is important, I think, to have those epiphanies, those revelations of like, oh, wait, there's more to life than just this one thing.
Right. Right. Like it's definitely helped me find a little bit more balance with things. And yeah, I am back to practicing asana, 5 or 6 days a week now. Because even for a long time after the injury, when I was starting to do asana again, it wasn't daily. Like it just wasn't. I wasn't enjoying it enough to do it every day. It didn't feel that good. Like I didn't want to do it every day. But my practices are shorter now. Like I'm not doing 2-hour asana practices anymore. I don't remember the last time I did. And I'm doing more other things just to create more stability in the lower half of my body. So,
what are some of the other things that you're doing?
Well, I've always done Pilates in addition to yoga, so I'm still doing that. Like I'll go to a Pilates studio a couple of days a week, and I go to the gym now, which is, I don't love it, but I do feel like I'm getting really strong from it, and I think that because I actually really would like to ski again, I'm hoping that this winter my leg's strong enough that I can feel confident skiing easy runs. I'm not gonna
the first time.
Not gonna do anything dumb again. It's gonna be super scary my first time, but I want to do it again. And I think that skiing is definitely something that I stopped doing because of yoga. Like I was scared of getting hurt. I hated being cold. Like I just I stopped doing it. But I never stopped liking it. I just kind of denied myself that pleasure. So I do want to do that again. And skiing is really the only thing I can think of that I really kind of denied myself because of my yoga practice. Like I really like hiking, and I've always continued to do that. And
less dangerous,
but it's much less dangerous. When I fall, I just fall on my butt. It's pretty hard to do anything real
Don't
stupid.
Go hiking up any steep cliffs or anything.
No, I've got to keep it easy. I use hiking poles now, which.
That's good.
Yeah,
but also I think it's important. I mean, especially for women, but also for men, as you age, it's really important to build muscle and work on that toning and strengthening of the muscles, because it helps like with hormonal balance. It helps with just the whole aging process, is to create structure and stability in your body, not necessarily more and more flexibility, especially if you've spent the last 20 years of your life working on flexibility. It's like, I think as you age, you really need to focus a bit more on creating that stability.
You do all those vinyasas, though.
Yeah, but there's a lot of areas of your body, I think, that become a little destabilized.
Weren't you guys doing handstands between postures? Like, you're supposed to be, like, really working on that stuff.
Yeah, but that doesn't work the legs again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I always felt like my upper body was strong. But the lower body was definitely really weak, and I think it actually still is pretty weak, but it's getting better.
Do a lot of warriors. Go back to the Larry Schultz Grateful Dead series, the Rocket series.
Right. Got to go back to that.
He had a lot of leg stuff, a lot of lunges.
Lots of legs. I know. I can hardly even remember it anymore, but
I just remember it was a lot of lunges in that.
There was lots of lunges, and he was a big advocate of doing twice-a-day practices.
Right. Yeah.
Too.
It's interesting. Since my practice collapsed, I have a lot more energy, because I'm not just like driving it into the practice. One thing that I've noticed is that I walk a lot faster. Like I walk really much faster. I have the energy to walk fast. And it's like, I've just started noticing like how much faster I'm walking. Like I'm really like, I would never put any energy or effort into anything when I was practicing.
Because you were exhausted.
Because I was exhausted. But now I'm like, wow, I'm kind of I'm really out here moving. I'm like Captain middle-aged man, It's really like it shifted. Like when I first started walking quickly, I noticed like I was really tight in the front of my hips and my legs. Yeah. But as I really started like putting energy into it, it's like I'm actually kind of working on my flexibility. Like that's what they mean by stretch your legs, which never made any sense to me before.
So funny. So what's coming up for you? Oh, sorry. Go on. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say, I just think it is interesting because the practice, it gives you energy, but it takes a lot of energy too. Mm-hmm. So yeah, even something like walking, you can imagine how it can affect you.
I know. I remember someone said to me once, I was in Mysore and it was like myself and Alaya and I don't know, some other people there. And someone was like watching us and we're just like lying around basically on the sofas, like barely like moving, like barely even like reaching for like a piece of food or something. We were having a lunch, and just like totally just like lying there. And someone said, "You guys do such intense things in your asana practice, but like you barely move for the rest of the day."
It's true.
You're like, yeah.
Elia always had that.
But that's the beauty of being someplace like Mysore is that like you don't have to. You can just recover.
Yeah. But again, it's kind of is sort of a little like illusion in a way, because again, if you have like a life, a job, other things you're doing, even the amount of driving, oh my gosh, like the amount of driving of our child around, like sometimes it's hours a day of just driving.
That's a lot.
Minimum hour and a half.
Right? It takes up a lot of time and you're just sitting.
It does take up a lot of time.
Like tightening your hips and your low back.
Right.
At least in Mysore, you're just relaxing and, letting your body heal all day.
I just remember, and I really took this at face value. I remember that Patabi Joyce said that 30 years of Ashtanga was enough. And like, I did my 30.
You did your 30.
I am done. He said 30 years of Ashtanga and you'll have, he said like something like healthy life, long lasting, something like that. And I was like, yeah, I'm cool.
Good.
Yeah. I'm going to move on now.
Yeah.
Time to move on to some other practices.
I'm going to do some push-ups once in a while and then like, go for walks. And...
I mean, you do have to attend to your body. I think that's the thing, is you have to still like do something for your body.
What does that look like?
Well, no, it can look like many things. I think that at the end of the day, taking care of your body can take different looks. Maybe it's swimming, maybe it's walking, maybe it's skiing, maybe it's doing push-ups every day. Maybe it's,
Well, what is enough?
Yeah.
What's enough to tend to the body?
Well, I don't know. I think that maybe is different for everyone, depending on situations, right? If you're healing an injury.
Oh, Jen's still here. Oh, Jen, what do you think is enough? What do you think is enough?
I think it depends on the body that we're talking about.
You think so?
Right? Like it's gonna change for everybody depending on what they have going on in their life also.
Yeah. Oh, like so.
Yeah, and even like for me, I feel like whatever's enough for my body just varies a lot on a day-by-day basis, or according to where I am in my cycle, or like how my knee's feeling, or if I did a hike over the weekend, or like it's all just kind of creating some sort of balance.
Cycle?
Oh no, my menstrual, depending on.
I don't know what's going on.
No, my
cycle.
cycle.
You guys want to talk about that kind of stuff for a bit?
No.
I
think we can have a different conversation.
I think that's really important, though. I think, especially as women, I mean, there's more and more research coming out about this for sure. Is that the type of exercise or activity or the amount that you need to do is different at different points in your cycle. And there's certain points that are really good for building muscle and making kind of progress, and other points that are more about just sustaining where you're at. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of something that I guess we never really talked about, or, it's not known in Indian lore, I guess. So we didn't talk about it in our yoga practice.
No, and I mean, I wish that people had been talking about that before, because I feel like, like over time I've kind of figured it out personally, but like looking back, like I think I probably pushed through a lot of signs that my body was giving me, like hormonally, just like energy level, like trying to kind of expecting too much of my body in terms of how my practice was on a day-to-day basis. And
were you ever at the point where you were not having a cycle?
No, fortunately, that never happened to me.
I knew a lot of girls.
But I've heard of it happening.
Girls who are not longer.
Yeah, I know it happens to a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah, it never happened to me either. But definitely, I think having that expectation to perform the same every day, day after day, and it's not necessarily a healthy way to approach your practice, I don't think, right?
Right.
Did you lie about having a cycle in Mysore?
Like, did I practice on my cycle?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
But I don't subscribe to that necessarily either. I don't think that that.
I've heard you subscribe against that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that women have to pay attention, and also I think you can do your research, like research on yourself, but also you can read research about it too. And sometimes when you have your cycle, that's actually one of the best times to practice because that's when your hormones are the lowest.
Right.
So
Right.
there's lots more coming out, and I don't think they did this research in India.
We still haven't gotten Nancy Gogoff on the show to that point.
So tell us what is next for you. What's coming up for you, Jen?
I have a Ashtanga retreat in Sayulita, Mexico coming up in March. So I've got a couple of spaces left for that. Yeah, I've taught at this place before. It's a great place for a yoga retreat, and we have a nice group coming. So there's a few spots
it's in
left
person.
if anybody wants to
It's an
join.
in-person thing.
Yeah, it's an in-person retreat in Mexico. It's gonna be super fun.
Can you describe like what it would be like for me to visit? Like, am I going to go to like the desert? Is there a pool? Am I going to go into the Phoenix?
You're going to be within walking distance to the beach. So the beach is just it's probably like 2 blocks away from the hotel that we're staying at. And there's just a really nice big open air yoga
You said New Mexico?
space.
Mexico.
No, regular Mexico.
Snap. I'm glad I asked. Okay, wow. Like Puerto Vallarta, something like that?
Sayulita.
Sayulita.
Okay, that's a place.
He
Okay.
was like totally zoned out when you said it.
I heard New Mexico is what I... And then I said
Mexico, yeah.
Phoenix, which didn't make any sense at all. So is that on the east or west coast?
It's on the west coast. It's actually, you would fly into Puerto Vallarta.
Right. Okay.
Nice.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. And people can find you online too. Why don't you tell
They can
everyone
find
where
me
they
online.
can find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Jen René Yoga, or my website's jenrene.com. And I have lots of online programs in virtual Mysore and hopefully some more in-person stuff coming up soon. So
Amazing.
yeah, I'm easy to find.
I'm sorry that I was also on the podcast today for your sake, but I really thank you for subjecting yourself to this.
No, it was, for me, it was so fun to see you because like you seriously blew my mind back in like 2008 when you kicked into Lotus. I still remember it so well. So it was really great to see you.
You kind of have to have this personality to be able to do that, which makes me ask questions. Which makes me ask questions about Krishnamacharya. Like, what kind of guy was he that he and I are so much alike? Because
well, I've got to think about the swivel hips now. You've left me with thinking about swivel hips.
You'll never look at the practice the same way.
I have a lot of room down there. Let me tell you.
I believe it. And now I'm thinking of everyone else who I know who has swivel hips, and I've never had that as a category of
people
strengths
do not
before,
respect
so.
it. They don't respect the people who have it. They really don't. It's like, oh, that Krishnamacharya guy and Russell, and like, who cares? Nobody else.
Swivel hips.
I think actually Robbie
The swivel
Cavallero
hips.
is a bit of a swivel hipper. Actually,
He's
a bit of that.
definitely not a backbender.
He backbender is he's really good. Yeah, it's there is just, I just feel space and room, and that's how it feels. And I know people that talk about their backs that way. It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's spacious. I have room. It's like, okay, all right.
I feel like I'm a bit more like you, Jen. I think I'm a bit more of an arm balancer than anything.
Yeah, you've got the sturdy.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to categorize myself, but maybe that would be it, arm balancing. But it is funny because that's probably what's coming back the easiest after.
Right.
That's
so.
that's what you
There
got
you
it.
go.
Yeah, that's an
Yeah.
indicator.
When I look at the practice, I always think that, like, what do you lose first? Like, what feels like the hardest to get back? Like, what do you lose first and what feels like the hardest to get back? And then what kind of sticks around?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then you'll know what your strength is, especially after like a break, right? If
Yeah,
you take 2 months off, where are you at?
Yeah, and I'm still doing Kondapidasana, but like I cannot do upward dog. Like, forget it. So there you go.
Well, it was such a pleasure to connect with you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was lovely.
I hope that you really enjoyed that interview with Jen René. And one thing that I was thinking about as I stepped away from the conversation we had was that, when we're recovering from an injury, or whether it's, giving birth even to a child, or maybe it's a knee injury like Jen had, or an appendicitis like I had at one point in India back in 2008, there's no real looking back, there's no real benefit of thinking that you need to get your practice back or get back to anywhere. I think that real true freedom comes when you can just embrace going forward and look at what it is that you are building and creating and stepping into, and that the future can be even better than the past, right? I think sometimes we get so stuck in comparing where we are now to where we used to be that we inhibit and prevent ourselves from really opening up into a more expansive, more abundant place in life. And I would just encourage you to maybe journal or think about, where is it that you are looking back at maybe your practice, or maybe a stage or a phase or a time in your life, and you're really thinking that, oh, those were the days. That was so wonderful when I could do that thing, or I had that kind of freedom, or that kind of time or energy or attention. And really take note of where those places are in your life. We all have them. There's no shame around it. But then allowing yourself to just release, even doing an energetic cutting meditation where you can cut the cords on the past, to just allow yourself to really open up and step into the possibility of a more abundant, more expansive, a better, new experience of whatever that area of your life is that you're kind of hanging on to as, I wish I had what it used to be. Let's embrace the unknown. Let's embrace the opportunity for life to surprise us and for it to get even better every single day. So that was my thoughts around our conversation and some of the takeaways that I'm walking away with, an opportunity to look where I'm limiting my own beliefs about my abilities or about the past, and how it's preventing me from really opening up into a more expansive future around my own practice, or my own energy, or my own dedication and commitments in life. So I hope that you do the same. And if you would love to go through this process with me of really stepping into a more abundant and expansive 2024, now is the time to sign up and join me for my More Than Asana mentorship. I'm opening it up to 20 individuals only who are ready to really, really step into this new place within themselves, within their spiritual practice, their yoga practice, their business, whatever your goals are. We're going to go deep into examining what's holding us back and really embracing and embodying more confidence, more clarity, and becoming that leader that you're here on this planet to be. So stepping into your leadership with authenticity and with grace and with confidence. I look forward to connecting with you. Drop me a line if you want more information, harmony@harmonyslater.com. That's my email. Or you can reach out to me on Instagram at harmonyslaterofficial. That's my Instagram handle. And otherwise, I will connect with you next week on the Finding Harmony podcast. Thanks for listening to this episode of Finding Harmony with me, your host, Harmony Slater. You can find out more information on my website, harmonyslater.com. And I look forward to connecting with you again soon.